Hey, this is Dr. Tom Rogers at Performance Medicine, wishing you a happy 4th of July. As you see over on my right over here, I have the American flag. As a matter of fact, that was my grandfather's American flag that was on his casket. He was a veteran of World War I, and that's a 48-state flag, so it's very old. And yeah, that's a white falcon on your left. So that is a white falcon, a Gretsch guitar, my favorite guitar. But anyway, so it's been a great weekend. I hope you're having a good Monday. I learn a lot from my patients, and I've got patients that are fantastic. They dig into things, they challenge me. And a couple weeks ago, one of my favorite patients brought a book in for me to read. It's called Fast, Feast, Repeat by Jen Stevens. And this is a fascinating book. Kind of made me realize I had some things wrong. Some ideas that kind of turned my idea around a little bit about certain things. I've been interested in intermittent fasting for quite some time. Have done some of it myself. I read an article in the New England Journal of Medicine last year about the positive benefits of intermittent fasting, and not just for weight loss, but for a lot of things, especially something called autophagy, which means self-eating. That's when really, and it's very related to fasting. When you're in a fasted state, it actually increases the rate that your body chews up its own waste products and kind of recycles things. So autophagy, which is a new hit word in medicine, is a good thing for healthy aging and aging longer. This all plays into a lot of other things. There was another Japanese doctor that got the Nobel Prize in 2016 for his work on intermittent fasting. I can't pronounce his name, but anyway, this very brilliant Japanese doctor received the Nobel Prize based on his work on autophagy as it relates to fasting. Now, as you know, I've always liked ketosis type diets, but what I've found is over the years that most people just can't stay in ketosis. It's too hard. So then I got interested in intermittent fasting and did a lot of it myself, thinking that I was doing it right, when in fact there were just a few things I was doing it wrong that was kind of making it not work as well for me and some of my patients. For example, bulletproof coffee, which I love. I used to drink it every day. But when you think about it, and Jen Stevens kind of turned my mind around about this, because when you think about it, say you're eating fat in the morning and you're trying to keep your body in ketosis, where it's burning ketones and not sugar or glucose. If you're eating fat with grass-fed butter, coconut oil, whipping cream, your body's using that fat first before it taps into its own body fat stores. And what you're trying to do with intermittent fasting or ketosis is really get rid of your own stored, banked body fat. Now, the key here, like I'm always talking about, is insulin. Insulin is the key to whether your body's in fat burning mode or fat storing mode, and you want it in fat burning mode. And it turns out you have to deplete your stores of glycogen from your liver in order to tap into your own fat, so you start using that for energy. And when you do that, you're going to start losing that visceral fat. There's two types of fat: subcutaneous, visceral fat. Visceral fat's the type that's around your organs. It's the dangerous fat. Leads to metabolic syndrome, heart disease, diabetes, all that. So it turns out fasting is a way to tap into that fat. And when most people think of fasting, you think of going 2 or 3 days without eating. Actually, it's easy when you do intermittent fasting, and you can do that either, that window of eating where you can compress it into 8 hours, 6 hours, 4 hours. there's a lot of other ways to do it as well. You can completely fast on one day, then kind of overfeed the next day. What you're trying to do is really trick your body into not adapting. Your body's got an incredible way of maintaining homeostasis and slowing its own metabolic rate when you just stop eating. So there's a lot of things that work in this favor. So it turns out when you're intermittent fasting, your body is increasing its own growth hormone, which increases muscle. And that's why people that fast, especially intermittent fasting, won't lose muscle, they just lose fat. It also resets your gut microbiome. You know, when you have a stomach problem, when you stop eating, it gets better. And this is one way to kind of do that, but do it more of on a daily basis. There's a lot of other positive benefits from this. It increases your body's, like we talked about, autophagy, your breakdown of your own metabolic waste so that it recycles. That's why a lot of people that do this, when they lose 100 pounds doing this, which you can, you don't get saggy skin. It kind of recycles your own skin to make other body parts. It's really fascinating. So intermittent fasting has many different benefits, and there's a lot of different ways you can do it. No two people are the same with this. You've got to find out what works for you. Whether, most people like lowered carbs, but some people do better with lowered fats. I think most people lowered carbs, but you got to figure out your own body and that own window of eating. I used to think that by eating continually during the day, small amounts, it would keep my metabolism going. Actually, it's just the opposite. When you go into a fasting state, that's what keeps your metabolism going. I thought it would be hard to do fasting, but I found myself going, 18 hours without any problem at all. And when I wake up in the morning, I've just switched to black coffee. I used to hate black coffee because it's bitter tasting, but it really works a lot better. And I noticed my body fat percentage going down when I did this. So when you get up, black coffee, unsweet tea, you don't even use artificial sweeteners, even like stevia, which is the best one. But what happens is when you use any kind of thing that kind of tastes sweet to your body, what happens is your brain interprets it as sugar. And so your pancreas starts pumping out insulin, which is a fat-storing hormone. I mean, when that stevia or any kind of sweet taste hits your mouth, even if you didn't swallow it, your body's putting out insulin because it thinks food and sugar are coming. And remember, insulin's a fat-storing hormone. The only way that intermittent fasting or fasting works is because it lowers your insulin level. And when your insulin level, bar none, there's no better way to do it than to fast, is to bring down that insulin level. So when your insulin level gets low, your liver has to put out the storage form of sugar, glycogen, and when it runs out, which is your goal, then you start burning your own body fat, and your body gets used to burning its own fat. And I found it to be very easy. I've even gone 24, 36 hours without eating anything, and what happens is you get more alert, you get more energy. As a matter of fact, when you first start doing it, you may not sleep as well because you have so much energy, and that's without eating. Have you ever noticed when you eat sugar, you're going to feel sluggish in another 30 minutes? So it's the exact opposite. Your body starts ramping up. Your brain, which runs better on ketones than sugar, starts getting more alert and makes your brain happy. It increases your neuroplasticity and your brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So it makes your brain work better. You get smarter. I've also found that if you do a little bit of light exercising in the morning in the fasted state, you'll build more muscle and you'll have more energy afterwards. It's just fantastic. You might not want to do HIIT training right off the bat, but certainly a 30-minute light cardio workout in the morning is really going to get you pumped up when you're not eating a thing. So there's different ways to do it, different eating windows. There's so many positive effects that it's unbelievable. Really, you can cure your diabetes with this. And remember, this is not just to lose weight. This is to get healthier, start turning your body into a fat-burning machine, and not fat that you've eaten. It's fat that you've already stored. And remember, it all has to do with that hormone insulin. And it also has to do with leptin and ghrelin, the satiety and hunger hormones. It really affects them in a very positive way as well. I mean, your body's got an incredible way of adapting and slowing down its own process. You've got to kind of trick it a little bit. And fasting is the way to go on this. I'm convinced about it. And the intermittent fasting part's what makes it so great, because you can then eat some of the foods that you normally wouldn't want to eat on your diet, because your body is so efficient at burning fat. So you'll be more satisfied when you're eating. You can actually eat some of the foods that you wouldn't eat otherwise. So the old thing where calories in, calories out, it's just baloney. Besides that fact, a calorie is a measure of energy, how much energy it takes to raise water by 1 degree in temperature. The problem with counting calories is, and even carbs or fat, when you count these, everybody metabolizes a calorie different than the other person. A lot of it has to do with whether that calorie is processed or unprocessed. So, processed foods, they go straight to fat. Unprocessed foods take energy to digest them, so that's why they're better to eat than some of your cooked food. Certainly processed foods with artificial sugars and all this stuff is really bad for your body in many ways, but actually the calories in there go straight to fat. So a calorie isn't a calorie. People are different. That's what makes the science of weight loss and energy medicine so complex. It's different for everybody. Your DNA may be different than another person's DNA. So you got to kind of figure it out for yourself. And that's why at Performance Medicine, we're here to help you figure that out. I check insulin levels every day. I check insulin resistance numbers, as well as all your other parameters, like how's your thyroid, your adrenals, all your other hormones, your cortisol, your stress hormones. So it's complex stuff. But I'm really pumped up about this book I just read, and I hope that you can maybe read it or come in and we'll talk about it, and we'll get you on a good program of intermittent fasting, so that not only will you lose weight and fat, remember it's your waist you're trying to get rid of. You're trying to get rid of visceral fat around your waist, and that leads to good health. So think about intermittent fasting. Read the book, come in and talk to us about it. We got a lot of tools to help you through this. I hope you had a great 4th of July, and we'll see you next week for another exciting podcast. Thank you.